All right, it's the Tuesday evening edition of Weather for Weather Geeks here on the 9th day of April, 2019. What a glorious day it was out there today. I mean, just sensational. Perfect visibility, crystal clear skies for a lot of the day, and temperatures were a little bit cooler than the last couple of days, but still pretty comfortable despite the breeze. Now, I was looking at the climate stats today, and it came to my attention that there's only been 0.3 inches worth of snow so far in April. Now, typically, we see about 4% of our annual snowfall in the month of April at the Youngstown Warren Airport. If we don't see any more accumulating snow, which I think is a possibility, this will be the least amount of snow in April in 9 years. It's been since 2010 since we've had this little snow in the month of April. Again, that's assuming we don't get any more accumulating snow. And while I don't want to put 100% odds on that, I think the odds are pretty high that we are done with any sort of accumulations aside from maybe some random flurries in a couple of the cooler shots that will come down in the next couple of weeks. Wanted to take this time lapse today from our Niles camera. A few fair weather clouds this morning, but then severe clear for a lot of the afternoon today. It was just a glorious, glorious day out there. And when we have a clear day like this, no matter what time of year it is, I like to grab the high-res low-orbiting satellite shot of Lake Erie, Northern Ohio, Northwest PA. Of course, this is Ontario up here. And look carefully, eastern end of Lake Erie, still some ice. Still about 7% ice coverage on Lake Erie. It's all on the eastern end. Eventually it will go away, but this persistent ice over here, anytime the wind direction is coming over that ice, it is way cooler along the lakeshore in northwest PA and southwest New York. Pretty typical for this time of the year. All right, I wanted to show you this evening. I showed this on the 6 o'clock newscast this evening. This is from the U.S. Geological Survey. This is the National Phenology Network, basically tracking the leaf out of the trees across the country as things green up. And I'll get my head out of the way here. The red color is indicative of things blooming a little earlier than average. The blue colors a little later than average. Spring really sprung early in the southeast and up into the Carolinas, even as far north as West Virginia. You'll notice there is a fairly sharp divide between where spring happened pretty early and where the leaf out is kind of behind schedule. Now, it's most pronounced out here. But in our neck of the woods, we're pretty much on schedule, maybe just slightly behind average around here. But, I've really noticed over the last few days the grass is starting to grow. I've seen some weeds. There's definitely a lot of budding on the trees. Certain flowers are blooming. It's noticeable that, of course, it is spring, and we're doing a lot better than the same time last year. We were still talking about snow in the first and second week of April last year, and really things didn't green up appreciably until the very end of April and early May. We're doing better this year. All right, big national weather story for the next couple of days is going to be this storm that's currently bringing mostly rain to parts of the western U.S. and out into the plain states. As this comes east and pulls down some cold air, it's going to be snow that's going to be the big story. A ferocious blizzard from the front range of the Rockies up through the high plains, out towards South Dakota, western parts of Minnesota. This could be the worst snowstorm, certainly the worst blizzard of the year for a lot of these places, and it's occurring in April. And snowfall totals, there's going to be some places that probably pick up at least a foot, if not 18 inches worth of snow along I-90 out here. This is going to be almost impossible to travel on for a couple of days from southern Minnesota out towards the Black Hills of South Dakota. This is going to be a mondo winter storm out here. Thankfully, nothing like that around here. We'll stay quiet tonight under a partly cloudy sky. The model tries to show, let me back that up. The model tries to show a couple of green blotches here overnight. Not really buying this. I can't totally rule out a spritz or a sprinkle overnight, but not really buying that for the most part. Tomorrow will be a somewhat cloudier day, a somewhat cooler day as well. About 10 degrees cooler than today, with highs in the lower 50s. Now, as we go into tomorrow night, a warm front heads our way, and this is another thing I'm not really buying. Model indicating a little warm advection flurry action in the wee hours of Thursday morning. It's probably a 10% chance of this occurring. I think the air is too dry down in the low levels of the atmosphere for this to actually reach the ground. But something of note, maybe there's a stray snowflake at 3 or 4 in the morning. Otherwise, Thursday is going to be a nice day as this warm front lifts north. It may take until the very end of the day before we reach our high of 67 on Thursday. This may be one of those days where you walk outside at like 1 in the afternoon and you think, really, it's going to get to 67 today? It may struggle for a while until we get that warm frontal passage, and then temperatures should jump pretty nicely. Our high may occur later in the day than traditionally does. All right, as this front comes east, showers become likely on Friday. I can't rule out a rumble of thunder Not real concerned about severe weather here. Aside from the snow aspect of this system, there'll be a severe weather component as well. Tomorrow into tomorrow night, places such as Omaha could see some heavy gusty storms, and then everything shifts east on Thursday into Thursday night to Chicago down towards, Evansville. And then as this comes east and the system occludes, the conditions just aren't as good here locally. Now, yes, there can be some thunder. There's going to be a fair amount of wind shear overhead on Friday. Not much instability, though. So if we get a couple of feisty storms, it'll all be about the shear and not really the instability. As we look at the upcoming weekend, this is pretty typical this time of the year. Forecasts tend to change fairly wildly from day to day. Yesterday, I went out with a forecast on Sunday of upper 40s saying, hey, it could be even colder. Now the models are showing 60s on Sunday. Some models, anyway. I went with kind of a happy medium and just bumped it up a few. I think it's still a rainy day. I still think it's a chilly day, and Monday looks pretty chilly as well. Speaking of the weekend, let me head over here and talk about the weekend. This is the European model for the weekend. Here's our showers, maybe a rumble of thunder on Friday. Saturday, we're in between systems, and it's a nice day. I've got highs in the 60s on Saturday with a mix of sun and clouds. Now, if you have outdoor plans on Sunday, not so great. I think rain is pretty likely throughout the day. Temperature forecast may be a little bit tricky. Again, I bumped it up. I don't want to go crazy bumping it up as warm as some of the modeling is showing, because some of the modeling, such as the European, is still pretty chilly on Sunday. But whatever the temperature is, I think it'll rain for at least part of the day on Sunday, with more showers into Monday. We're into a northwest flow. That's a raw, blustery day coming up as we kick off a new work week on Monday, but thankfully things should improve by the middle of next week. Overall, hey, this is pretty typical early spring stuff. It's nice to have a pretty typical spring, pretty typical April especially. And I talked about this in our spring forecast earlier on this season, that last spring it was cold, 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 and then it was summer by the first week of May. This year, it's much more of a typical transition. This is pretty typical stuff of April. Back and forth, chilly days, warm days, beautiful days, raw, damp, blustery days. That is April in Northeast Ohio and Western PA, and that's what we expect over the next week. All right, thanks for watching tonight's weather for Weather Geeks. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night.